session by Dr. Shelley. Now we have Dr. Adarsh Kumar with us to talk about the blockchain tools and techniques for healthcare system. It is my immense pleasure to introduce Dr. Adarsh Kumar to all of you. Dr. Adarsh Kumar have been working in research and academic computer science engineering and information technology for more than 16 years. Presently, he is working as a senior associate professor at the University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, Dehradun. He worked as a postdoctoral researcher in Software Research Institute at Athlone Institute of Technology, Ireland, where he was actively involved in enterprise-funded multi-million euro research project to develop new methods to detect and combat cybersecurity attacks. Previously, he worked as an assistant professor at the Computer Science and Information Technology Department at JIIT Noida. He received his master's degree in software engineering from Thapar University, Patiala, Punjab, and earned PhD degree from JP Institute of Information Technology, Noida. He participated in one European Union S2020 sponsored research project and two research projects sponsored by UPES Seed Division. He completed one research project sponsored from Lancaster University in 2022. Presently, he is handling one consultancy project from a UK-based IT firm. Now, on the behalf of my whole BTA team, I welcome you, sir, and request you to please start the session.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Right. Thank you for the nice introductions, and many thanks to Dr. Kavita, Dr. Raghu, and all of his team members for organizing this event and inviting me to deliver this talk. Right. So I have one request. Like from past few years, it's raining heavily here. So in case I get disconnected at any time, please give me a call. I'll try to make an alternative arrangements. Right. So my talk for the today is blockchain tools and techniques for healthcare, and I'll be discussing various use cases of blockchain in healthcare. So during your last few days, you might have listened to various renowned speakers who have presented blockchain uses in different sectors, including the healthcare sectors. Just now, I was listening to Dr. Shelley, and she has introduced the healthcare, and she has rightly identified the interoperability issue. So already you have the pace of blockchain technology and its advantage in healthcare sectors. So I'll be covering the similar kind of things. So in my presentation, so what I'm going to cover is I'll be first introducing what are the existing challenges in the healthcare sectors. The healthcare challenges exist not just in India but worldwide. So even the developed countries like USA, I'll show you a few statistics. Billions of trillions of frauds are happening in healthcare sectors. I mean, not just a single party is involved in those frauds, including the patients, doctors, the insurance providers, or supply chain management providers. So everybody is involved in the healthcare frauds. So there are major other challenges also. So we'll be discussing what are the other healthcare challenges, and then we'll be identifying what are the possible solutions and how blockchain technology will be useful in providing the fruitful solutions to the existing problems. Right. So and then I'll be covering the various use cases of blockchain in healthcare. So I'll be starting with the drug traceabilities. As you know that in the market, if you're going to purchase the drugs with similar salt, multiple manufacturing companies are giving drugs, and some drugs are cheaper, some drugs are costlier, but whenever you're going to a doctor, you have to follow the doctor instructions. And sometimes a doctor gives you a costly medicine. So if you ask from the patients, they are not trusting the doctors. If you ask doctors, they will say that I have my own practices, so I'll go the way I observe. So, but what is the right thing? What is the ethical things? So is blockchain is helpful in providing the ethical and more trustworthy solutions. So we're going to discuss what is the problem, what is the solutions, and how the blockchain helps, and what are the actors involved in it. So likewise, there are clinical trials. So you might have observed if you are going for some laboratory test, some non-medical people are doing the test for you. So it's not like we are having a scarcity of healthcare staff. It is more of a money or business model is there. So can blockchain help in giving more trustworthy environment and more transparent data to the clinical trials? So we'll be discussing the problem solutions and the actor involved in clinical trials and what would be their roles and how blockchain will be helpful in it. So likewise, we're going to discuss the billing systems. So you must be knowing that many of the IT firms and other firms are reimbursing the medical claims, and but the employees are giving the false billing, false bills. So how you can authenticate those bills? How blockchain will be helpful in creating more immutable, transparent, and secure records? And then is a patient handling. So if you consider the present scenario, so what we're having in a hospital is we have a multiple specialized departments, and whenever a doctor is coming, he has to first interact with the receptionist and go to the general physician, and thereafter it is recommended to some ward, and people from or the doctors from different departments comes, but there is no hierarchy like who should come first. And sometimes for the sake of money they recommend all of the departments observations, which in actual is not required. So what would be the patient centric smart healthcare system? What are their future aims? So how we can make it more transparent? So if we have a patient historical data, and we are able to share the data with the right person, then it will be more transparent. So we're going to discuss these case studies, and online identities no doubt is required. So you take any systems, some form of online identity is required. So in healthcare system also, patient identity, doctor identity, these identities are required. So many doctors are doing malpractices and they are being caught. I'll show you a few news cuttings also. It shows that what kind of frauds are being observed. And if we have a right identification, we can identify who is doing what. So that way it will be useful. So during past few days, you might have practiced various toolkits like your MetaMask is there, Solidity is there, Infura is there, various .js platforms, AngularJS, Web3.js, Node.js, various platforms you might have practiced. But those are few of the toolkits. Now people are moving to the other toolkits like Solidity. If we talk about the Solidity from last 4-5 years, we are using the Solidity, and we can do every type of object-oriented programming in Solidity. But the major problem with the Solidity, we will be able to execute few transactions per second, few thousand transactions. But in actual scenario, we want thousands or millions of transactions to be executed per second. So are there platforms which allowing us to execute this much of efficiency? So yes, liquidity is one of the answer. So why in future we'll be moving to the liquidity? Because in future we need high computations, and high computation is provided by the quantum computing environments, and liquidity is based on OCaml language, and there is a quantum version of OCaml language available. So that way we will be able to integrate quantum computing and the blockchain concepts with the smart contracts. So YAL is advanced to the Solidity, so it's giving a more structural form to the smart contract. So likewise, there are various other Solidity or smart contract programming platforms are there. I'll give you a list of those tools, and you can study more in details. I'm having characteristics of few of them. Now, the second is a blockchain explorer. There are different kind of blockchain explorers available in market like blockchain.com. If you go to the blockchain.com, you register yourself, you can see what are the wallets available, what are the possible wallets available, and what are the cryptocurrencies, what are their current prices. Right. So as of today, there are more than 1024 cryptocurrencies are there, but the large volume of the stakeholders is with two major cryptocurrencies. So we'll be discussing those cryptocurrencies, some of the major projects running those behind those cryptocurrencies like Stellar, Binance. We're going to study the properties of them and how they will be helpful in the healthcare sector. So, for example, in healthcare sectors, there are different stakeholders. Doctors are there, infrastructure provider is there, medical equipment providers is there. So every entity required a different chain. So who is the best chain providers? So for in a comparative analysis, it has been observed that a hybrid ledger is giving a more provision to create multiple channels. So, but apart from the hyper ledgers, there are other cryptocurrencies also, like multi-chain is there, which giving you provision to create multiple chains. So that would also be a good option for the healthcare sector. So every cryptocurrencies which is giving the provision to fork blockchain would be helpful for the healthcare sector. So then there are other tools also which are being derived during recent times, like messaging tools. Apart from the traditional peer-to-peer communication over the blockchain, we might need to exchange the messages to give an update when to want the transactions or something like that. So their messaging tools are available. So I give you a list of those tools, and verification tools like nowadays attacks are possible in the blockchain network. I'll give you a brief idea about what are the possible attacks which are happening in a blockchain networks and how you can verify using different tools. Like we say, our testing tools are there. So then a brief hands-on on blockchain. I'm like having right now. I'm having a few codes of shell programming for blockchain for healthcare sectors. So those who are interested, and if I'll get the time, and then I'll share the code with you, or I'll share with the conference organization. They can put it in your WhatsApp group, and you need to work on a Linux platform. So Linux platform and installation of Flask is the minimum requirement, and rest I'll guide you how to execute and how get an experience of the blockchain. And then lastly, the few research directions where we can move. So let's start with this. So during past few days, you might have studied that blockchain is helpful in almost every sectors. So if you talk about the healthcare sectors, it's mainly useful in record keeping, although we can create a blockchain for each of the entities and actors, and we can securely store their identities, their practices, log can be maintained, but the major use of healthcare is in record keeping. So apart from that, you can see from this, it can be used in various ways in different sectors. Right. So if I compare the healthcare sectors, so there are different reports in the healthcare sector which shows the importance of blockchain. So one of report is this one, and you can see that the healthcare sector is 8%. I mean, the uses of blockchain in healthcare is 8%, which is equivalent to other important sectors, including the gaming and the insurance. And insurance and healthcare, that is very much related to each other's. And the largest use of the blockchain is in banking sectors. So this is one of the picture, but more of the picture is same in every analysis. Right. So if you talk about the importance of blockchain in different countries, this graph is 6 to 8 months old graph. So at that time, China banned the cryptocurrencies, but now they are looking at the provision to reopen it with different ways. So you can imagine the volume of acceptance of blockchain in different countries from this one. So in Feb 2022, our finance minister are also made a statement that we'll be having our own cryptocurrencies. So you can imagine the future of the blockchain. So if you compare the blockchain with other associated technologies, so blockchain is not just the one solution. There are many other solutions are available, like Hashgraph is also a popular one, and directed acyclic graphs is there. So both of these Hashgraph and directed acyclic graphs are providing the consensus smart algorithm and distributed ledger approach. So they are competing technologies to the blockchain. But in the research directions, people are trying to integrate blockchain with hash graphs. So what is expected is that we need high efficiency, especially in the terms of transaction per second. So we need a larger number of transactions per second. Right now, Bitcoin is in an ideal scenario is able to give you few thousands of transactions per second, but we are expecting millions of transactions, since large number of users will be associated with the blockchain network in healthcare sector also. Large number of the doctors, patients, and staff will be integrated into blockchain networks, and we required a lot of interactions, a lot of transactions, and blockchain is a transaction-based approach, and so there's need of millions of transaction per second possibility. So right now, Hashgraph is giving of a few thousands of transaction per second, and in blockchain, Bitcoin is having this scalability and efficiency is having an issue. But if we talk about other blockchain, like I know there is one blockchain called Tezos. Tezos is also an open source blockchain, is recently developed, and is able to give you infinite transaction per second. So it's having an infrastructure which integrate lightweight cryptographic primitives and protocols. With these provisions, we are able to execute infinite executions, right? So based on the scenario, we can fix the number, but as per the documentation of the Tezos, it says that you can execute infinite number of executions. So we're getting the efficiency. So people are working with integration of blockchain with Hashgraph especially to improve the efficiencies. This is the point I would like to say. Right. So if we talk about the healthcare challenges, so these are the few of the cuttings from the newspapers. Many frauds are happening in the healthcare sectors. So for example, if you are having some insurance and you're visiting a hospital and go to the reception, and the first of the few things they ask you that whether you do the treatment with your insurance, whether there will be cash pay, whether there is any medical card available. So like that way, they keep on exploring from you what kind of treatment you're looking at, right? So and for the similar kind of treatment, to one people they charge you few thousand rupees, and to other people they charge you millions of rupees. So that make a difference, right? So they keep on exploring from which location. If you're saying that I'm not having the insurance, they will ask you at which place you're living, where is your residence, give the residence proof, what is your profession, give you your profession proofs. Like with that way, they establish an image for you, and they will say that this much will be the income, and accordingly they charge for you. Even the good hospitals are doing this. So many frauds are happening worldwide. So one of the reports which you can see, offender and offenses characteristics, the report from FBI in USA. So you can see like white people's, large number of different community peoples are involved in these frauds, and the millions of trillions of amounts they are dealing with. So whenever there is a business model involved in the healthcare sector, there is the least trust remains in the system. So you can see the other names also, which says that a lot of frauds are happening in the healthcare sectors. So how would the blockchain will be helpful in this? What would be the other possible solutions? So we need to explore this in detail. So giving you one more picture of what are the common frauds which are happening in the healthcare sectors. So as I told you earlier also, the frauds are happening not just from one stakeholder, it is happening from almost every actors involved in it. It is happening from the doctor provider, which is medical service providers. It's happening from the patient side also, and it's happening from the illiterate peoples in the medical field also. So if talk briefly about the medical providers, so there is possibility of double billing. So something submitting multiple claims for the same service, it is possible. Like somebody has in the family is having medical insurance for the family, and I mean the different people are there in the family, and everyone is having the medical insurance, and they putting claim to their places. Although you can say that Aadhaar card could be linked and it can be traced, but anything can be changed. So double billing problem is existing. So phantom billing is also there. So billing for the service or supply the patient never received. So what happens is, if you're having an insurance and you're going to hospital, and they list down like what are your maximum limit you can claim, and they ask you to fill a form, And in the filler form, they will ask you to fill the names, your mobile number, your address, and give a signature. Rest of the things, they will say that you go to the doctor and we'll fill it for you. And the backend, they keep on entering, which the patient is not knowing what they are entering. So a patient is not getting what is being claimed in the paper, and at the backend, they get a approval, and there is a fixed percentage is there. So that way different people are getting illegal advantages, right? So that's a phantom problems. It's there in the medical field. So can blockchain avoid this? If yes, how it can be avoided? What could be the possible solutions? What are the pros and cons? So this need to be explored. Then is unbundling, submitting multiple bill for the same services. So if somebody in the family has done the treatment, husband is submitting the same bill to his office, wife is submitting to some another office. So that is also possible. It is not easy to trace down all of these things if there is no immutable records is there. So likewise, there is upcoding is there. So there are frauds which happens from the patient side. Patient side also, so patient can falsify their identities. They can impersonate the healthcare professionals. So there are problems with the prescription also. Some patient is habitual to some drugs, but doctor is not interested. So they can bribe the doctor and they can create a forgery prescription. In India, we do not need the prescription, but in the developed countries, you cannot go to a specialized person without having the approval from the general physician. So in those countries also it is happening. So we need to handle all of these frauds. Large number of, I've listed down few of the frauds, but large amount of frauds and happening in the healthcare sectors. We need to explore this in detail. So in COVID time also, like I was listening to the previous speaker, she told that when the COVID-19 happens, during starting for an injection, like there was black marketing, and like a lot of agents were charging thousands of rupees for the injections, right? So likewise, the many other frauds happen. So if you might have observed, like when you got your first dose and you're going for the second dose, your first dose entry was not made in the system, and the staff or the nurse was saying that so you have not taken the first dose, you will be considering this as your first dose. Then after giving you a proof, or 2-3 people giving a statement for you, they were making the backdate entries also. So not on the day when you get the COVID dose, but few days here and there. So likewise, in abroad countries also, a large amount of frauds happen. Many of the injections were found in the dustbins or here and there, and there was no record of it. So those schemes, those frauds happen in the COVID-19 times also. And if you see the recent analysis of FBI, so millions of trillions of other kind of frauds are also happening. So I'm not going much detail into it. You can go to the FBI website, you can find out the details, and it's sorted on based on the dates in the slide. So you can see large amount of frauds are happening. So if you bring some technology which provide more security to the data, immutability to the data, more transparency to the outsiders, so easy accessibility and a distributor approach, no center control, then that could be one possible solutions. But we need to explore in details what are the different use cases, what are their challenges, what possible solutions are there, and how the blockchain is helpful in it, what are the tools and techniques which will give efficient result for the healthcare. So we're going to discuss few of them. Rest is for the future analysis. So there is another picture of what are the different companies. Like already we have large amount of companies working worldwide on the healthcare sector, because healthcare from a business point of view is a big market. So and a large amount of money is spent from USA. Other countries are also there, but large number of companies are from the USA. And earlier they were working, few years back, they were working on collecting the data, storing the data digitally, and giving the data to the patients and the doctors. So for this one, they were charging. But since they were having the control, they can modify the data or if some server fails, then it was hard to fetch back the data. Right, so blockchain is providing more efficient solutions. So many of them has started with the blockchain technology. So it's just one picture of the USA. This you can see a large number of companies are working in this one. And apart from USA, your Russia and European Union, a large number of companies are there from that region also. Even China is also having few companies who started working in the blockchain sector. So if you see about the India, so I observed, like this is the observation of one of my article in 2020, and what I observed at that time, there were two major companies which were handling the healthcare records, and they were not working on the blockchain technology or integration of blockchain technology with healthcare sectors, but they were having the plans. So as per their documents available over in the public space, they were having the plans to integrate the blockchain technology in futures. So you must have observed that in almost sectors in nearby futures, slowly we'll be integrating the blockchain technologies, and it'll start giving that advantage to us. Right. So this is one picture. Now, if we have to integrate the blockchain with the healthcare sector, there should be certain steps which we should check whether we can integrate the blockchain with any of the sector or not. So we'll discuss these steps with respect to healthcare. So if you see the first one is, do we need a shared consistent data storage? Yes, we need, if you talk about the healthcare, we need a consistent data storage. What the major problem doctor faces when a patient visit to a doctor, doctor want patient historical data. They want their ancestors data. So how to get those data? So usually we do not have the data with us, or it is not prepared in a well mannered so that doctor can quickly go through it. So what the blockchain technology can give to you? Blockchain technology will give you the storage of the data when it was created. So you can store the data and it can be retrieved by the authenticated party based on the consensus and including the doctors, and they will be easily able to prescribe you the medicines or give you the treatment, whatever you need. So the first step, it clears that we need a consistency of the patient data in healthcare sectors. Not just a patient data, but if some companies involved in the supply chain management or healthcare equipment supply chain management or medicine supply chain management, there also we need the data. So whether in the history that company has given the good services, so we can keep a record of it, and that consistency of the data will help the government to approve the subsequent phases of for the company, right? And then does more than one entity need to contribute data? Yes, in the healthcare sector, we have multiple entities involved. So patient is one thing, like if patient is having some chest issue, so his BP record might be required from general physicians, and his X-ray may be required from some other medical staff person. So likewise, data for the patient might have to come from different places. His bank details has to come to the insurance factor. So his insurance record has to come. So multiple stakeholders are there in the complete healthcare system. So data is coming from the multiple places, and all of those data is collected at one place, and then it will be easy to compute and do the subsequent processing. So healthcare data is a required contribution from the multiple sites. So and then data is data records once written and never updated. So healthcare record is like on a particular day, if you were having some special issue, you cannot say that you are not having that issue. So if we create an immutable sort of data, and then it will give you more trust to the doctor, right? So the data is authentic, because nowadays if you visiting a doctor and you say that I did the lab test from XYZ lab, and then doctor might say that you have to go to some other lab or some specific lab and get the report again. So I mean that way you need to recollect the data. But if you're having an immutable data and the lab test from where you are, where you have taken it, the report, that is also a container part of the blockchain data. It will give you more transparency. So that way it will be quite useful. So immutability is provided by the blockchain. So this step is also cleared by the healthcare system. Then is the sensitive identity identifiers will not be returned to the data stores. So if there are some identifiers, some sensitive, some secret data is there, then we know that in blockchain networks, attacks are possible. People are trying to steal your identities. So although we can say that we have integrated cryptographic primitives and protocols to make it more secure, but those are also breakable. So if we talk about the quantum computing, they are able to break. On paper, using mathematical equations, they are claiming that they are able to break the traditional cryptographic primitives and protocols. Right. So for the shorter durations, we need storage of identity. Identity can be updated using the various mechanisms. So, but for shorter duration, if you want secure storage of the identities, then blockchain is helpful. And then are the entities with the right having a hard time to decide who should be control of the data. So if there is a central control of the data, then managed database is the good approach. But in case of a blockchain network, we have a peer-to-peer communication. There is no, it's a distributed ledger, there is no control, there is no centralized controls. Although people might say that since two major cryptocurrencies are having the bigger market and they are holding everything, and they're deciding the rules. Like earlier, they were working on proof of work. They, without taking consent of the actors, the involved actors, and they're moving to the proof of stake mechanism. But still, it is a distributed approach. The approach is there are other options where the user, it is up to the user where they want to move. So user want a tamper-proof log of all this. The blockchain maintain a tamper-proof log of all the rights or all of the transactions or all of the activities users are doing. So it's blockchain can be created for the healthcare. So all of these steps are cleared by the healthcare systems. So we can create a blockchain for the healthcare system. So if any of the steps you feel for any of the other case study is not clear, the alternative approach is written in the red color down, right? So you can use that alternative approach also. So this was one glimpse which says that how you can integrate a blockchain, whether you can take blockchain for the healthcare sector or not. Right. So if you talk about the full stack implementation, this is a generalized view of the full stack implementation. Like in healthcare sector, if you want to integrate the blockchain network, what are the major components do you need? So you need some mobile and web-based applications. So either user can provide the data directly, or some mobile or web applications is required. Then there are different APIs are required. It could be RESTful or REST-less APIs. So we need to discuss what are these APIs. We'll be discussing these APIs in the later slides, like when we're discussing the use cases and the tools and techniques. So apart from that, we need address mapping. So everything in the blockchain network is mapped to certain addresses. The use of certifications, verification processes, consensus mechanisms are there. Different consensus mechanisms, you might have studied it. So all those things are required. Then smart contracts is required. Storage, proper storage is required. The side chain, if you want to fork any blockchain, you want to create your own private blockchain from inside a public blockchain. So sidechain provisions are there, multi-chain provision is there. Then is a blockchain. There are different type of blockchain are possible. Private blockchain, public, hybrid based blockchain are possible. So this is the generalized view of what things are required if you want to create a blockchain for the healthcare sector. So what blockchain, when to use the blockchain. So we have already discussed these points, like when there is need of immutability of the data, we need blockchain. When there is a need of a trustworthy environment, removal of third parties, since it is a peer-to-peer technology, so we need blockchain. Then we need a transparency, and we need every actor to be a transaction-based then we need this blockchain. So proving the authority, verification of authority, so trust management, building the trust in the system. So all these factors emphasizes that we should use the blockchain in a particular sector. So when not to use the blockchain. So these are few points which says that when there is no need of a blockchain. So if some system functions are changing a lot, so we cannot change much in the blockchain network. Something is there, we know that activities are being logged and data is immutable. We cannot change anything, and every block is also interlinked. So we cannot change a blockchain network or a blockchain. So hardware cannot handle computers. In the case of blockchain, we have a different type of hardware. For example, hardware wallets are there. So they should be able to do the combinations. So likewise, there are other parameters you can easily identify. If they are meeting, then we do not need the blockchain network. Else we need a blockchain solution for this. Now the important part of this lecture is the use cases. How we can use blockchain in different healthcare sectors. Now, the first one is the blockchain in public health security. So when we have the patients, and then we need a patient health records. That way, doctor will be able to handle the patients. Now, what is the problem with the existing one? So the problem with the existing scenario is how to maintain and share public health records. So I mean, if you're having the records with you, most of us in India especially are keeping record in a hard copy. So we do not have the digitized copy. So doctor might say, this is the old report, I cannot trust over this report, or I cannot trust over a certain laboratory. So you need to retest it, and there's need of a recent report or something like that. They keep on saying that like this one. So, but who will authenticate the activities of the doctors and the report? So if everything will be made digitized, and doctor is making his observation online digitized, he's knowing that his observations or whatever he's saying to the patient is being recorded and is immutable. So that way patient will build more trust, and doctor will be able to better handle the patient. Right. So what are the possible solutions? Like we go to the possible solution. One of the possible solution is for different entities in the healthcare sectors. Like there are healthcare providers are there, healthcare pharmacies are there, the patients are there. For each of one, we can create a blockchain. So and they can, all of them can be put in a public blockchain ledger. So right. So all the health records are maintained using the public ledger. So whether it is a patient records, patient history is there, consistency of data of patient data is there. So all will be there at the right time, and when it was created, it will be there in the public ledger. So then there are pharmacies are there. If some pharmacy is giving the medicine, so he'll be responsible that he's giving the right medicine. Many fake companies are existing in the market. They give you a same symbol medicine, but the medicine will not affect on your body. So if some pharmacy is giving, he'll be responsible. He'll be right taxpayer to the government. So that way it will give more transparency, and more data will be available to the right people. Right. So it's not like it's transparent, so it will be available to everybody. So those who will be part of the public blockchain, and based on the consensus approach, we can give access to the right person. So I'll be discussing then when a patient is visiting a hospital. So what will be this sequence of steps in a futuristic patient-centric smart healthcare system? If some patient is visiting a hospital, what could be his steps, and those steps could be programmed. Right. So an encrypted link to the patient record is created for the doctors and the patient access only. So we encrypt the data. We store the encrypted data in the blockchain in the blockchain. So there are different encryption mechanisms are available, but people are trying to make the mechanism more secure using post-quantum based approach. The post-quantum based approach, which make the algorithms, the traditional algorithm, more secure against quantum computing based attacks. So this is one of the ways. Likewise, people working in different directions to make the encrypted mechanism more secure for future. So IoT devices can be integrated to record data directly over the blockchain. So nowadays we are using different devices. We have a smartwatch which keep on observing our BP, heart rate, and other things. Likewise, the sensors. If you're going to hospital, you might have seen the emergency or other wards. Many of the sensors are attached to the human body to give the observations. Right, so those sensors could be attached. Small sensors could be attached permanently to the human body if it is a critical, and day-to-day recording can be observed. Right, so all of the data will help a patient also to observe his health conditions. I mean, right kind of food, right kind of activities, right kind of exercises can be planned accordingly. Right, and then there is need of smart contract can be initiated between different entities. Now, whenever you are sharing the data, so every transaction in blockchain network is a paid transaction. So who is sharing the data and with whom they are sharing the data, everything is being logged. So data is more secure, and this data will be shared based on the rules and regulations or a policy written in the smart contract. So different entity will agree on the rules and regulations, which is audited by the authorities like Food and Drug Authority, your MHRA is there. The different authorities in different regions are there, which governs the rules and regulations, and then accordingly the smart contract can be designed and executed. So what benefits we will be getting if we integrate a blockchain in this public health records? So data security is the main thing. If there are hackers, in the blockchain networks, blocks are linked using the hashes. You cannot modify any of, you can modify even the single digit. You cannot modify a single digit. You modify the hash value will change. But people say that if an attacker is capable enough, the subsequent blocks hashes can also be modified, which is not an easy approach. The breaking of different encryption approaches at the same time in a parallel executions, it's not an easy approach, but still there are attacks possible. Discuss what are the different attacks which are existing in the blockchain network. Like Eclipse attack is there, 51% attack is there. Likewise, many other attacks I have. If I get the time, I'll discuss those scenarios as well. Now, data privacy is there. So we're keeping the data secure. Only to the permitted authority data will be available. So this will reduce the barrier involved in complex data sharing. So in the present scenario, although we have a digitized based system is there, like recently the Indian government has started a free telemedicine service. It's called e-Sanjeevani OPD. So to the remote places, to remote, especially like I belong to Dehradun, so I know many of the villages here where the medicine services are not easily available. But this e-medicine teleservices are free services to the older people and to the people living in the remote regions. The healthcare services are provided to their local spaces. Even medicine supply is available, right? So you can say in the e-OPD, you can decide whether you want services from the centralized health services or from the local government services. So other options are also there. And in this, you have a mobile app also, you have web app also. You can integrate your data with Ayush department. So if you want some other kind of treatment, your data can be easily transmitted based on your consent to that department, and you can get treatment from other department also. So I don't know why it is not properly discussed right now or marketed right now, but most of us are using the paid services like Practo, 1mg, Tata Health Services. There are many applications are available which we are using right now. And so this is a brief about the health records and their importance, how we can integrate blockchain in health records. So this diagram will give you more clarity over it. So if there is a patient and you need a data of the patient, you can collect the data from multiple places. Like data of a patient might come from their MRI records, it might come from the doctor prescriptions, it might come from the doctor general observations, and the health monitors system is there, the lab test is there. So these are the ways through which data is coming. Apart from this, sensors, a blood pressure equipments like smartwatch could be attached with the patient permanently, not permanently for the temporary reasons, and we can keep on collecting the data. And all those data will be automatically goes to the healthcare blockchain, and we can create multiple blockchains. So if there is one patient, he want to maintain multiple blockchain, he can create multiple blockchain. He can create a bridge between different blockchain. He can fork the blockchains. So nowadays we are having multiple provisions where the patient will be able to modify the blockchain as per his needs. Right, so a large amount of data will also be available. So that data will be immutable, transparent, secure, and easily shareable. So cross-border payments will be much easier. So we can take recommendation from some international doctor as well. Right, so all this is giving a nice picture to the healthcare sector, bringing more transparency. So all of the transaction will be recorded also. So nobody will be able to claim more than the policy being decided, and is being properly audited also from the government regulatory authorities. So that way it is going to be a secure system, although it will take time to fully implement this, but slowly if we keep on moving in the right direction, so we will get the result as well. So then is the second use case. Second use case is the drug traceability. So what happened in the present scenario, if there are different drugs manufacturers for the same drug, there are different manufacturers are there, right? So all of them are using same salt, same process of manufacturing the drug, but the charges are different. The charges are different. So if you ask them, there are different reasons they give you to. Those might be justified or not justified, but there are different prices for the drugs. And not just that, you might get a drug which is not having the salt which is recommended for the drugs. So who is going to prove the authenticity of the drugs? So there's need of proper drug traceability, starting from collecting the raw material, manufacturing the drugs, and then supplying to the right merchandiser and the distributors, and giving to the right hand of the patient, right? So that all things is required. So we need to have a proper traceability. So one of the possible solution is we should integrate a sensor based approach or IoT based approach into it, which give more traceability. We'll discuss with the diagram also, but if I rediscuss the problem with the current one, a lot of counterfeit drugs on the market, which can lead to loss of lives. So there are many drugs are available, and doctors are also human beings. They might have done few experimentation with patients. They keep on prescribing similar kind of medicines or drugs to the patients, but it might not affect the patient. So if they are recording their observations and the quantity of drugs prescribed to them during recent or during history, then a more clinical observation could be made out of it. And likewise, if multiple doctors are making observations, so what is the best, which drug is giving the best result, that can be shared, that data can be shared with every drugs, and a fruitful practice, a healthy practice could be implemented. So if you try to integrate this with the blockchain technology, so blockchain based solution to the drug supply chain integrity is required. So there's need of a unique identification based solutions is there. Right now we have a barcode based mechanisms. We can integrate more secure RFID based approaches into it, or we can integrate the sensor based approach, which give the live conditions of the drugs. So which measures the temperature where it is stored, how long it is stored in that particular temperature, what temperature is recommended for the drugs. All those information can be stored alongside the drug, and it can be fetched from any location. And that way, for a patient, it would be easy to purchase right medicine from a right location. The separate ledger can be initiated from government-approved drug suppliers. So as I told you, there are different drug suppliers for the same drug, So there are different suppliers, and for each of the supplier we can create a separate ledger, right? So each ledger observation could be observed, and the patient for the drugs can also be recorded over the blockchain for verification. So patient's history, what medicine he has taken, so all of these things can be recorded and verified by any of the permitted doctor or authority. And the smart contract can be integrated. We can integrate the smart contract between supplier or distributors. So if you see the complete supply chain management for a drug, there will be a raw material collector will be there, raw material distributor will be there, a manufacturer will be there, and there will be a supplier will be there, distributor will be there, then local shops will be involved, then patients are there. So there are multiple actors which are involved. And during the communication, there are need of the transaction-based APIs also. So there are multiple things which are required. All of these require the security and exchange of right kind of informations. So this is possible with the help of a smart contract, because at the right time, right product will be delivered if a proper smart contract is written. Then, so if you can clearly see the benefit out of it, provide visibility need to make critical decisions for a doctor. I mean, it is usually hard to make a decision when patient is in critical conditions, right? So when he will be having the right informations, he can justify his action also. For doctor also, it will be good, and he can clarify to the family member of the critical patient that this is the patient history and these are the possible ways I can do, and out of this I found that this is the best way. And the family member can also see like what is the success rate of a particular treatment. So that way, although there is need of AI and a lot of other data analytics is there, but we can give a better recommendation to the doctor. So reduce cost due to counterfeit of drugs. So reduction of cost is the major thing. One of the way factors which reduces the cost is there's no third party involved. There's a peer-to-peer communication. A patient can directly deal with hospital or the doctor. So there's no need of any third party required. So any counterfeit of the drugs is also like counterfeit drugs might get a higher cost, might be sold at a higher cost. If counterfeit drugs is identified, a patient will be knowing that he need not to purchase the drugs or it's not the right drugs. So that way also it reduces the flow of the money. Illegal flow of the money. Protection consumers and brand through reduction of fake pharmaceutical companies. So promotion from the fake companies are also will also be reduced, because right practices can easily be observed, and their data, the historical data, can easily be observed on the blockchain network. So that way it will be useful. Like this is the another picture of the drug traceability. So I told you there are different entities required. If you start from the left hand side, there's a manufacturer. So before manufacturer, raw material collector is also required. So raw material, after collecting the raw material, drug item will be created. So and the day when it is created, a time when it is created, how it is created, what quantity it has been created, how it is packed, what material is being used in the pack. So all of these data will be recorded in the blockchain network. Then there are proper labeling being done for identification. We can assign the barcode or RFID based approaches. So that gives a collection of data to the manufacturing units. And the next unit to the manufacturing is the distribution unit. So manufacturer will give the drugs to the distributor at the right time based on the smart contract that we have written. So APIs will be generated which will automatically execute the smart contracts and the transactions. So once the drug is given to the distributor, and the money has to be given to the manufacturer from the distributor side. So for that one, a right transaction execution, right smart contract execution is required, which is possible in case of blockchain. So when we are getting the money at the right time and you're getting the product at the right time, that way the things will go more smoothly. And after distribution, there are other stakeholders are there, like the medicine or the drugs could go to the hospital pharmacy. It could go to the online pharmacy, and user can has the option. You can directly visit the local pharmacy or hospital pharmacy, or from online he can purchase the items. So in between, there are smart contracts, API based execution are there, and which properly monitor the transactions. So this is one way we can easily trace down how the drugs move from one location to another location. And yeah, we can integrate IoT based solutions also. If any system want that what is the live condition of the drug, is it not damaged, so is there should not be change on the data. So live data can also be collected from the drugs. Then is the clinical trials. So next use case is blockchain in the clinical trials. So what I have observed is like when you're visiting a hospital and doctor giving you, you have to do some lab test or MRI based report, and you visiting some radiologist, and radiologists are usually the non-technical person, non-medical background people. So, and they give a signature also, signature of a reputed doctors. So when you ask them like how you can sign this, then give you a lot of reasons. I cannot explain you what are the reasons. You must be knowing what reason they give, but they give a lot of reason to it, right? So, and you know that doctors are giving a fixed percentage of it for the signature, and signatures using the AI tools, they are also can be tampered easily. And I mean, what the radiologist, how he is without contacting the doctor, how he is signing the report with full confidence, because the technology like AI based equipments are there. If radiologist equipment is giving an observation which is 90% similar to a normal person records, they will sign it without authentication. Only 10% of 10 or 20% of the records which is having deviation from the normal person goes to the doctors. So very few reports goes to the doctors. So this is I mean, a few of my observations. So so with the help of blockchain technology, we can store the record, like which equipment is used to scan the patient, at what time it was scanned, how much time patient machine took to scan the patient, was there repetition in the experimentations, what was the conclusions, who is the right authority, whether the right authority has given the right time to sign the report, and whether the right person and a well-educated person has seen the report and then forward it to the right hands. So all will be digitized and can be recorded, so that way will have a more trust in the healthcare system. Right. So however, half a millions of clinical trial reports are misconducted. So I've given you one examples. There are thousands or millions of examples are there. We say that the reports are misconducted. So blockchain-based solution for providing secure synchronized data submission is possible. So patient can control their own data and contribute to decision related to preferred treatment choice. So I have already explained to you, nowadays we are using the mobile phones. If all of this blockchain-based data will come to our mobile app, then we can see which experimentation, like if I have some issue, like I need some treatment, then from the mobile app, I can see which is the more efficient solutions and which is the right doctor. Is it at what time the doctor will be available? I can approach some international person as well. So an international person will be knowing that the transaction over the blockchain can be executed much faster in few milliseconds rather than a few days in a traditional system. So they will also be ready to treat you, right? So we're getting the treatment from the Practo apps like that way, but those apps, the data can be changed. But in future, if we're having a blockchain technology, we'll be having more trustworthy solutions. So intercommunication can be established, use smart contracts. So many of the speakers have already talked about the smart contracts, how to create the smart contracts, what are different accounts available, free accounts available, how you can get the coins from MetaMask, Infura, and like other platforms, and how you can exchange them, and how you can write the rules and regulation functions do the inheritance, polymorphism, and other object-oriented concepts in smart contracts. That way, intercommunication would be easily established nowadays with the smart contracts. Then authorization can be maintained for different parties involved. So different, if they are, I mean, you know, the healthcare sectors, doctors, patients, administrative staff, suppliers, multiple entities, multiple actors are there. So authorization of those are mandatory, and everybody will be knowing that if they are part of the public chain, public blockchain, they can verify their identities. They can see their logs and their activities. So authorization is quite possible in case of a blockchain network. So what benefit we are getting it is increase access to urgent informations. We can quickly get the informations, increase interoperation between multiple hospitals. Like previous speaker was discussing that interoperation is required in a hospital. Like if there is some hospital XYZ in one location, he is good in some cardio treatment, but he's not good in rheumatologist treatment. So what the patient can do, right? They can recommend the hospital, right? So, but what about the exchanging of data? So presently, approval from multiple authority is required, and some renowned hospital in one city is having contact with some specific hospital only, which patient cannot afford, right? So then, if in case of if all of the hospitals or large of the hospitals are in a blockchain network, we can patient can share the data with with whom he want to share. So data can be shared. His background history from one hospital can be shared with other hospitals, and it can be shared easily, quickly, and in a secure channel, and he can get the right treatment as well. Right? So insight into multiple data sources resulting into new treatment plans. So if there are multiple data sources, some in future, if some doctor has changed the treatment, is doing some experimentations to make the patient more better, then his treatments, his observation can also be recorded. So all of these data will be available and can be shared easily with the patients. So in a pictorial diagram, so this is one of the way how you can represent the different clinical trials. So for one patient, there are different clinical trials are there, and all those data is submitted to the hospital and a regulatory authority like FDA, Food Drug and Authority, like MHRA, and in Europe there is EMA. Is there different regulators that they keep on checking the authenticity of the clinical trials, and there is a medical board which keep on checking these research observations. Once you have sufficient data or observations, for the subsequent patient, it will speed up the process to recommend for doctors, and this will help the insurance company also to clear the medical claims easily and on quickly and on right time. And then their execution of smart contracts is there. So smart contract, if patient is taking insurance companies, his approval will come on right time. Patient can be treated at the right time, and all of the data is recorded in a blockchain network. So if there is need of a medicine, so right now if you're going to a hospital, doctor give you a recommendation, so you might have to stand in the long queues even in the hospital itself to collect the medicines. But in case of a blockchain networks, it will be the responsibility of pharmaceutical company to provide the medicine to the right doctor at the right place, or to the doctor room, or to the patient room or the ward. So a bit of more automation will give you a faster results, right? So it's one possible scenario how clinical trials could be integrated into the healthcare services, and healthcare service can be improved, right? So I mean, I have more use cases. So all of those use cases you can study from one of my publication which I talked earlier also. So you can go to this publications. You can see how a smart patient-centric smart healthcare system can be designed for futuristic healthcare system, right? So this is a possible scenario where there are different entities involved, and we can write the smart contracts. So you have already written smart contract in Solidity, and you know that we can write multiple function, multiple smart contracts. We can inherit the properties from one contract to another. So this is one possible scenario. Is implementation is available in the article, so you can go through it. It'll help you understand what are the different technical parameters you can evaluate, and what are the different, like there is a hospital. So what is required for the hospital in a contract? Hospital ID is required, hospital service is required, hospital treatment, hospital equipments. So all of those details either can be put in a form of variable or a list or a table, and they can be integrated. So this is a brief about this smart contracts. Much details is available in the publication. You can go through it if interested. Right. Next one is, next use case is the billing system. So there is a, we discussed during the initial slide of this presentation, the large amount of billing frauds are happening, like double billing, standing is there, phantom billing is there. Now, what are the existing challenges in the billing system? How blockchain can overcome it, right? So we're going to discuss it briefly. So healthcare billing faces several challenges, including unintentional billing inaccuracies, frauds, and time taken to process the transactions. So in the present scenario, like if you're taking the insurance, you need 24-hour pre-approval case. So I know the renowned insurance providers, even in case of death also, they are asking that 24 hours of admitted of the patient is required, right? So that is nowhere in the hand of patient or any person. So this is this kind of practice should be improved, right? So how we can improve it? If we have a right data, right communication at the right time, and person will be responsible for it, that way we can further improve it. So inaccuracies in the billing system can be removed. So the fake bills or bills given to the IT organizations, which usually do not have understanding of the healthcare system, or the medicine being prescribed. So those things can easily be traced down. So we can save a lot of amount of our taxpayer money in this. So a blockchain-based solution for proper payment transactions is there. So blockchain will provide audit transparency. So audit body is there, like in every organizations, for every activities there are audit bodies. Like in universities, they are NAC and NBA keep on visiting, and they keep on checking your records. So if those records will be checked with more accuracy, with more transparency, then they will be having more trust. So presently, people having least trust in auditing bodies, but with the passage of time, with digitizations, with more trustworthy records, we'll be having more trust in the system. Then is the smart contract can be initiated for automatic payment. Smart contract can be initiated for automatic payment processing. If there are insurance-based company, if your bank account is linked with, or your wallet is linked with the healthcare system, so automatically the amount will be deducted based on the smart contract return, or based on the fee being recommended by the regulatory or the medical board. And so smart can be initiated for providing insurance to the patients also. So if a smart contract can be written to integrate the wallet with the healthcare system, it can integrate the insurance company, insurance policy, and insurance service of patient with the healthcare service system as well. So what benefit will be getting out of it if we integrate blockchain with the billing system? So by storing billing information inside the blockchain, a reliable source of information for the claim will be a justification will be kept. So right data will be there, right information is there, and a reliable source of information can be claimed, right? So the reduced cost, no doubt blockchain is going to reduce the cost, and billing frauds will be reduced as everything is immutable. So data is immutable, you know what for what you being charged. So many of the fraud can be avoided. The duplicate of bills can be avoided. Fake bill submission could be avoided. And this will be permanent entity of your bills. Right. So this is the one scenario in the billing system. So what is happening right now? Uh, I mean, not in right now. Like if we integrate the blockchain, is on one side is a hospital. So if patient is visiting a hospital will request for a payment. So patient either has to give the amount, or he need to produce his policy document, insurance policy documents. So then there are regulatory authorities or actuaries are there which keep on checking or auditing your data, and if you're giving the right data, so right information is stored in the blockchain network, right? So one typical scenario, this scenario can further be integrated with the help of a smart contracts. So this is this showing a more sequence flow. So you can see the numbering 1, 2, 3 is giving a proper sequence how the things will happen. So hospital is requesting for the payment, and second is a patient side make payment. So then after this is third is a smart contract will be executed. So blockchain network will check whether for the hospital service a right amount is being paid or being claimed, and then a proper auditing will be there. It will check whether right patient is getting a right treatment for the right amount and at the right time, and then at the last patient the hospital will receive the payment. So hospital right now is more looking for the money first, then the treatment. But with this time, they will be having more trust of the system that if we will be giving the right treatment to the patient, then we'll be getting the right amount at the right time also. So patient will be, hospital will be having more patients, and so they will give a better treatment, right? So likewise, there are many other use cases which we can discuss here, right? So another one is if new patient is coming to a hospital, then how the patient will be handled, right? So this is one typical scenario. So if a patient is there, a hospital is providing the healthcare services, and in between there is payer. So either it could be a third party banker in the present scenario, or in case of this blockchain, insurance firms could take as a role for the payment. And then there are government authorities involved which keep on checking the procedures, and they keep on updating the information, right? So this way we can efficiently handle the patient. This is one way how the treatment happens to the patient. These are the different scenarios. Sequence steps are being written here, so you can take pick of it if you are interested. Read down. I'll quickly go through all this. So the most important thing is, like, when patient is visiting a hospital, how the blockchain network will be created. So this picture will show you a diagram with a timeline. Like during the initial stage, what is, in the developed countries, if a patient is visiting, he cannot directly go to a specialized person unless he has some pre-approval from the general physicians. If he's a new patient, and then he has to first go to a general physicians. So general physician will give his recommendations, he will observe his attributes, a symptoms based a report will be generated for the patients, and that report from the patient side and from the doctor's side will be recorded in the blockchain, in the block. So inside the blockchain there will be multiple blocks, and in a particular block the data will be recorded. So if it's a new patient, a new blockchain will be created, and the data will be recorded in the block. So that is the first step. So we started creating the blocks, and you can see timelines. So the first step shows that we need to contact the general physicians. So we cannot skip any of these steps if you want the right kind of treatment and right claim from the insurance company. Right. So this is the flow just I have explained to you. So you can read out this flow. Now the second one is the doctor might ask you to go for some clinical trials or lab test. So a nurse will be involved. So nurse will be having its identification, its experiences, its success rate, its kind of treatment he's giving. So if he's going for the lab test, who is doing what lab task, for whom it is doing, all of these information will be recorded in the blockchain network. So lab test file will be maintained, and it will be part of the blockchain. And you can see that the nurse is able to get the information from the first block. So from the first block where the general physician has made an entry along with the patient, that record is available to the lab, because the patient has visited the lab, and for getting the lab test done, lab staff has to collect his historical data on approval from the general physician. So if he's getting all of this data, his next block will be recorded. What will be the next block? It will be named as the lab test reports. So lab test blocks can be fetched, it can be analyzed later as well. So we created the second block during the second timeline. So this timeline is important. Sometimes you're visiting a doctor and doctor says that I will not accept 1 month older report. So I want a recent report. So what you have to do is you have to retest yourself. So in case of more accuracy and more transparency in the doctor practices, he either has to accept or he has to make his recommendation, but everything will be recorded, right? So these are the steps, again, the steps which I've just explained in the previous step. And then is the specialized visit. This is the third timeline. Like after his lab test done, report being generated either at the same time or some later time, all of the data is recorded into blockchain, and patient is intimated that lab test records are being generated and you can collect it. Then finally, if you need, he can get a specialized person, a specialized doctor, right? So different countries is having different healthcare degree provider system, and they give different designation as well. So based on the specialization procedure and based on their patient's needs, a specialized person will be assigned to the patients, and a specialized person might ask for more lab tests which need to be done in the future time, and subsequent blocks will be created. Okay, he can give his own observations. So there are different provisions we can create. Either the specialized doctor, if he's part of the public blockchain, can directly access the patient's previous blocks, or a patient can provide access to his previous block to the specialized doctor, and based on the trustworthy data, a specialized doctor can recommend a treatment in the subsequent blocks. But all of these data is being recorded in the blockchain, and a blockchain is created. Right? So all these steps are explained just now, what I have explained to you. And this is another use case which it says about online identities. So if you are integrated, if you want to integrate blockchain in any network, so you need to store your identity online as well. So digital identity has to be made, and it has to be securely, and it has to be exchanged securely as well. So online identity is required. So what is the major problem in the present scenario? So online identity management, time consuming and a costly process. So you might have observed, like when you're visiting in a hospital, every time they say you that you need to give a hard copy of your Aadhaar card. So you say, hey, I have already given a hard copy of my Aadhaar card to the insurance company, and I'm claiming here the insurance. I'm telling you that this is my insurance, this insurance company, this is my number, card number. So giving you all the details, you collect it from the insurance company. So they said, no, if you want a treatment, you have to give it right now also. Then you have to rush to a photocopy and get a photocopy being done and submitted. Like that, they might ask you the PAN card also, other information. So PAN card, Aadhaar card, they keep on asking multiple times at different occasions, which is a time-consuming concept. With the online identities, we can remove these barriers, because any identity can be easily uh, taken from internet, and his historical data can also be observed. So what is the possible solutions? A permission-based blockchain solution to source the digital identities. So if you want to give permission to some hospital that you can get my identities, my activities from some blockchain networks, all of those information could be fetched and could be given to the doctor at right time. So he has to trust it. So immutable storage of user identity. So you cannot modify the user identities. Although it is being encrypted, you can least trust over the encrypted mechanisms with high computing systems in a high computing environment. But I mean, presently we can make it immutable. So user can choose how the identity themselves and with whom the identity is shared. So if you have part of a public blockchain networks, you can share the entity with the other public actors, and you can decide with whom you want to share based on the consensus. So and the sharing of a ledger between banks to maintain a single identity of the, so bank you have to integrate. So presently we have our money in the banks only. So we need to integrate banks with the public network also if you want to do some exchanges. So either we can transfer our money to the crypto wallets from the back channel, and from the crypto wallets we can pay to the hospitals, or we need to integrate the banks as well. So I mean, what benefits is giving to you? It's removing the middleman and provide early party access to the same source of truth, and real-time information could be shared, and authentication and authorization is possible with this system. Easy possible with the system. So this is one typical scenarios how user can give identities to the hospitals. User himself can give identities of he's using the mobile app. Using mobile app, he can share the identity with the hospital, or with the web app, he can share the informations. Informations will be shared with the help of a smart contracts, with whom to share, what information he has to share, and I mean, what destination party expect when he will be accepting your identities. All this can be written in a smart contracts, and inside the blockchain network, those identity can be shared with not just hospitals, you can share with many other sectors. Like you have a participation in the banks, so with banks they can be shared. You need some service from the government, so you can get the service from government and transport industry, multiple sector you can share these informations, right? So then is the supply chain management. So there are multiple case studies I can keep on discussing here. So supply chain management is another case studies. So so you quickly go through this, like this need of a raw ingredients which is supplied to the manufacturers, and there is a food regulatory and food drug regulatory authority is there. We keep on checking the manufacturing process, when it's packaged properly, it is distributed, and it's coming from which location. Based on location, we can identify how the medicine will be delivered to the hospitals, right? So and if IoT will be integrated into it, the sensor could be attached to it, we can check the live condition of it. So this is a brief about the supply chain. So I have more details about the supply chain management and other case studies, but I'll be, since time do not permit me to continue, so I'll be happy to take a few questions if any, and in future if I'll be getting a chance, I'll be discussing more such tools and the hands-on practices. So that's it from my side for today. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take your questions, please.
Any queries from the audience? I guess no. So now I request you all to please switch on your camera so that we can have a picture. Adarsh sir, can you please stop sharing the screen so that we can get a good picture?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
So if there is no question, thank you very much to everyone. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for listening to me. Thanks, especially thanks to Dr. Kavita, Dr. Raghu, and Dr. Sakshi, and all of your team members for arranging this wonderful events and inviting me here. Thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir,
Thank you,
for
Adarsh sir,
taking time
for
for us.
accepting the invite. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Um, okay, now Raghu sir, you will take the charge for the next session after 5 minutes break. Okay, so after lunch. Okay, sir. At 2 o'clock. Okay, sir. Okay, so